In February 2014, the world's largest Bitcoin exchange simply went dark. Withdrawals froze. Trading stopped. The website returned a blank page. The Twitter account was wiped clean. And inside a Tokyo office building, a 30-year-old French CEO named Mark Karpelès sat in front of his computer, methodically opening old digital wallets one by one, searching for 850,000 Bitcoin that appeared to have vanished from the face of the earth. At the time, those coins were worth around $450 million. Today, at current market prices, that same stash would be worth approximately $90 billion. It represented roughly 7% of every Bitcoin in existence. More than 200,000 creditors had their life savings inside the exchange. Most of them would wait more than a decade to see a single cent. This is the story of Mt. Gox, the original crypto catastrophe, and the fat, slow leak that took down the company that once handled 70% of the global Bitcoin market. To understand the scale of Mt. Gox, you have to understand how early in Bitcoin's history we're talking about. In 2006, an American programmer named Jed McCaleb bought a domain name called mtgox.com. The abbreviation stood for Magic, the Gathering Online Exchange. It was originally intended to be a trading site for Magic the Gathering playing cards, a fantasy card game. The project never really launched. The domain sat idle. Then, in July 2010, McCaleb read about Bitcoin on the tech news site Slashdot. He decided that what this bizarre new digital currency needed was somewhere for people to buy and sell it. He dusted off the mtgox.com domain, built a simple exchange on top of it, and launched what would quickly become the most important Bitcoin exchange in the world. By early 2013, Mt. Gox handled approximately 70% of all Bitcoin transactions globally. If you were trading Bitcoin in 2012 or 2013, you almost certainly had an account there. The company was the center of the Bitcoin universe. The trouble started immediately. In March 2011, McCaleb got tired of running the exchange and sold it to a French developer named Mark Karpelès, who was living in Tokyo. Karpelès was 25 years old. He would later be described by the author Nathaniel Popper in the book Digital Gold as a heavy-set young coder who had tremendous difficulty with human interaction but spoke fluently to computers. Employees at Mt. Gox would later describe him as strange, stoic, and almost unnaturally calm. One colleague told the Daily Beast that Karpelès could probably tell you the entire office was on fire and you had better leave, and it would be the same expression on his face. What Karpelès had bought was a broken product, a security audit of Mt. Gox's systems conducted only after he took over, revealed that the exchange was already missing approximately 80,000 Bitcoin before he owned it. That hole would never be filled. The hacks started almost immediately after. In June 2011, an attacker compromised the computer of one of Mt. Gox's auditors, used the credentials to access the exchange's database, and temporarily crashed the price of Bitcoin on Mt. Gox to 1 cent. During those few minutes, the attacker bought up Bitcoin at the fake low price and walked away with around 2,000 real coins. Karpelès plugged the hole publicly. But what the public didn't know, what even Mt. Gox itself didn't fully know, was that starting in late 2011, a separate, ongoing, silent theft had begun. Someone, or some group, had obtained the private keys to Mt. Gox's hot wallet, the online wallet the exchange used to process customer withdrawals. From that point on, They began skimming Bitcoin in small chunks, continuously, month after month, for years. Gox's own internal accounting system interpreted the thefts as legitimate outgoing transfers and simply kept running. The company had no idea it was bleeding out. This is the part of the story that is almost impossible to believe, but is well documented. By the middle of 2013, when Mt. Gox looked, from the outside, like the booming flagship of the global Bitcoin economy, it had already lost almost every single Bitcoin its customers had deposited. The company was technically insolvent. Behind the scenes, Karpelès knew something was wrong. He wasn't necessarily aware of the scale, but he knew the numbers weren't adding up, and his response would eventually become one of the charges that put him in prison. He deployed 2 automated trading bots on the Mt. Gox exchange, named internally Markus and Willy. The bots bought Bitcoin aggressively, using money that did not actually exist inside the company's books, in order to artificially inflate both the price of Bitcoin and Mt. Gox's apparent trading volume. Markus alone would come to be associated with purchases of around 600,000 Bitcoin using phantom dollars. According to investigators and reporting by the security researcher Kim Nielsen, the Willy bot's trading activity lined up with normal Japanese working hours, took a break for the Christmas holidays, and abruptly reversed from only buying to only selling in the weeks just before the Mt. Gox collapse became public. Mark Karpelès would later admit in court to operating what he called an obligation exchange. He disputed that any of it was illegal. A Tokyo court would disagree. The pressure on the exchange began to go public in early 2013. In May, a former business partner called CoinLab sued Mt. Gox for $75 million, alleging breach of contract over a failed expansion into the American market. That lawsuit is still unresolved more than a decade later. That same month, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security began investigating Mt. Gox's American subsidiary for operating as an unlicensed money transmitter. The U.S. government eventually seized more than $5 million from Mt. Gox's U.S. bank accounts. With the American revenue stream choked off and the stolen Bitcoin still draining, the clock was running out. On February 7th, 2014, Mt. Gox halted all Bitcoin withdrawals. The official explanation was that the company needed to obtain a clear technical view of the currency processes. This was not true. The real reason was that the exchange had finally realized it had no Bitcoin left to send. Customers who had deposited their coins years earlier discovered that they could not get them out. Protests began outside the company's Shibuya offices. A British investor named Colin Burgess flew from London to Tokyo, stood in the snow outside Mt. Gox headquarters, and held up a hand-drawn sign that read, "Mt. Gox, where is our money?" His protest became the first crossover Bitcoin story to hit mainstream global media. On February 23rd, Karpelès resigned from the board of the Bitcoin Foundation. On February 24th, 2014, the Mt. Gox website went offline. The Twitter account was scrubbed. 6 other major Bitcoin exchanges released a joint statement publicly distancing themselves from the company. Then the leaked document dropped. An internal crisis management memo, circulated inside the company and quickly obtained by the press, laid out the full scale of the disaster. Mt. Gox had lost 744,408 Bitcoin belonging to customers. It had lost an additional 100,000 Bitcoin belonging to the company itself. Combined, that was approximately 850,000 Bitcoin, worth around $450 million at the time. The memo described a theft that had gone undetected for years. On February 28, 2014, Mt. Gox filed for bankruptcy protection in Japan. On March 9th, it filed again in the United States. The largest Bitcoin exchange in the world was dead. What happened next was almost as strange as the collapse itself. On the evening of March 7th, 2014, Mark Karpelès was alone in his Tokyo penthouse, apart from his cat, running a blockchain scanning program against an old archived wallet file. He had already checked roughly a dozen older wallets and found them all empty. This time, the program ran for 6 hours, and when it finished, it silently returned a number that stopped him cold. The wallet contained approximately 200,000 Bitcoin. They had been sitting in an old, forgotten, pre-June 2011 wallet the entire time, simply ignored. Karpelès later told Fortune magazine that he sat there staring at the screen. Those 200,000 recovered Bitcoin would eventually become the only realistic hope Gox creditors had of ever seeing their money again. That still left approximately 650,000 Bitcoin completely unaccounted for. And this is where the laundering trail begins. A Tokyo-based blockchain security firm called WizSec published an investigation in 2015, which concluded that the vast majority of the missing coins had been stolen directly out of Mt. Gox's hot wallet in a slow, silent drip beginning in late 2011. The coins were then funneled out through a series of intermediary wallets and increasingly to a Russian-linked Bitcoin exchange called BTC-e. BTC-e was the sort of exchange that exchanged everything for anyone and asked almost no questions. It became a central clearinghouse for funds stolen via ransomware, darknet drug sales, and hacks like Mt. Gox. WizSec concluded that as many as 300,000 Mt. Gox Bitcoin had been laundered through BTC-e. In July 2017, a man named Alexander Vinnik was arrested by Greek police while on vacation in the town of Halkidiki. The U.S. Department of Justice had filed a 21-count indictment alleging that Vinnik was the key operator of BTC-e and had personally laundered more than $4 billion worth of Bitcoin, including funds directly traceable to the Mt. Gox hack. In 2024, after extradition battles between the United States, France, and Russia that lasted nearly 7 years, Vinnik pleaded guilty in a U.S. federal court to conspiracy to commit money laundering. He did not, however, confess to being the original Mt. Gox hacker. To this day, the full identity of the original intruder, the person who first stole the private keys to the Mt. Gox hot wallet in 2011, remains unconfirmed. Investigators believe Vinnik received the stolen funds and possibly orchestrated much of their laundering, but the initial breach may have been a separate actor or actors entirely. Meanwhile, Mark Karpelès himself had been arrested. On August 1st, 2015, Japanese police arrested him at his Tokyo home. But the charges against him had almost nothing to do with the missing 650,000 Bitcoin. Instead, Japanese prosecutors indicted him for data manipulation, for artificially inflating Mt. Gox's balance sheet by roughly $33.5 million, and for alleged embezzlement of around 315 million yen, approximately $2.6 million, of customer funds. Japan has a conviction rate of 99%, and suspects can be held without bail, questioned daily without a lawyer present, for up to 23 days per arrest. Karpelès was held in detention for almost a year. He lost a visible amount of weight. He later said he would not wish the experience on anyone, but critically, he never confessed. He maintained throughout that he had not stolen the missing Bitcoin, that he did not know who had, and that his only real crime was sloppy accounting. On March 14th, 2019, the Tokyo District Court delivered its verdict. Karpelès was found guilty on the single charge of falsifying financial records. He was acquitted of embezzlement and aggravated breach of trust. Prosecutors had sought a 10-year prison sentence. The court sentenced him to 30 months and then suspended the entire sentence for 4 years, meaning that unless he committed new offenses, he would serve no prison time at all. The verdict stated that Karpelès had inflicted massive harm to the trust of his users and that there was no excuse for the way he had abused his authority. But it also stated that the court believed he had acted without malicious intent. Karpelès responded on Twitter that he was happy to have been judged not guilty of the serious charges. He would go on to publicly blame Alexander Vinnik for the original theft and to rebuild, eventually, a new career in cryptocurrency. That left the creditors. At the time of the collapse, Mt. Gox had approximately 127,000 creditors spread across the world. Combined, they filed claims totaling roughly $2.4 trillion, a figure so large it reflected panicked valuations rather than reality. The bankruptcy trustee, a Japanese attorney named Nobuaki Kobayashi, had to actually work out what the estate was worth and how to distribute it. Early plans involved liquidating the recovered 200,000 Bitcoin and paying creditors in cash, pegged to Bitcoin's February 2014 price of around $483. The creditors, including a lawyer named Daniel Kellman, who became one of the most prominent voices of the group, pushed back. They argued, correctly, that they had lost Bitcoin, not dollars, and demanded to be repaid in Bitcoin. In 2018, the case was shifted from straight bankruptcy to a civil rehabilitation process, which for the first time allowed creditors to recover actual coins instead of 2014 dollars. The civil rehabilitation plan was formally approved in November 2021. A rough distribution schedule was set, missed, extended, missed again, and extended. On July 5, 2024, more than 10 years after the collapse, Mt. Gox finally began releasing Bitcoin to partner exchanges including Kraken, Bitstamp, BitGo, Bitbank, and SBIVC Trade for distribution to creditors. The trustee moved approximately 142,000 Bitcoin, plus roughly 143,000 Bitcoin Cash, plus 69 billion Japanese yen in fiat currency, worth around $510 million at the time. Combined, the total payout was valued at approximately $9 billion. The deadline was subsequently extended to October 31st, 2025, and then extended again to October 31st, 2026, to accommodate creditors still finalizing their paperwork. Most affected users have now received at least partial payments. By the strangest possible accident, because Bitcoin's price had appreciated roughly 90-fold in the decade between the collapse and the payouts, the creditors who stuck it out ended up receiving, in dollar terms, approximately 90 times what they had lost. So what did Mt. Gox actually teach the crypto industry? 3 things. First, never leave your coins on an exchange. The entire modern mantra of, quote, "not your keys, not your coins," was forged in the wreckage of Mt. Gox. Every major exchange that came after, from Coinbase to Binance to Kraken, built cold storage architecture, segregated customer funds, and multi-signature withdrawal controls specifically to avoid what happened to Karpelès. Second, it proved that self-regulation in crypto doesn't work at scale. The Gox collapse was the direct trigger for Japan's 2017 Payment Services Act, which made Japan the first country in the world to create a formal licensing regime for cryptocurrency exchanges. Every subsequent major regulatory framework in Europe, Singapore, and the United States traces some of its DNA back to this single event. And third, it proved that blockchain receipts are forever. Even when the identities are hidden, the coins can still be followed. WizSec's forensic reconstruction and the eventual identification of BTC-e as the laundering channel set the template for modern crypto forensics firms like Chainalysis and Elliptic, which now routinely trace stolen funds across mixing services and international exchanges within hours of a hack. The wildest part of the Mt. Gox story is not the crime. It is the ending. A badly run Japanese exchange lost 850,000 Bitcoin to a thief or a group of thieves who were never fully identified. Its CEO was arrested, vilified, acquitted of the serious charges, and walked out of court with a suspended sentence. The money laundering hub in Russia got busted. 127,000 creditors waited 10 years. And because the underlying asset they were waiting for appreciated faster than almost anything else in financial history, most of them eventually received a payout that, in dollar terms, was dramatically larger than what they had originally lost. There is no other theft in modern financial history that has this kind of ending. In almost every other illicit or hack, the victims get a fraction of what they put in. In Mt. Gox, because of the nature of the stolen asset, they got a fortune. A slow, painful, a decade-long fortune, but a fortune nonetheless. Somewhere out there, roughly 650,000 Bitcoin that were stolen from Mt. Gox between 2011 and 2014 are still unaccounted for. At today's prices, that represents a stash in the tens of billions of dollars. The identity of the original intruder has never been officially confirmed. Alexander Vinnik, the man who laundered most of it, is now cooperating with U.S. authorities under a plea deal. Mark Karpelès walks free in Tokyo, trying to launch new crypto ventures and fielding the occasional interview. And somewhere in the blockchain, preserved forever in a sequence of transactions that anyone in the world can still open and examine, is the on-chain record of what may be the largest unsolved cryptocurrency theft in history. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe, because the next case on the channel is Bernie Madoff, the $65 billion Ponzi scheme that ran for decades inside the heart of Wall Street, ended with a confession to his two sons on a cold December afternoon, and remains the largest investor fraud ever uncovered in the United States. Hit subscribe, and we'll see you there.